Now the serpent was more subtle than any of the beasts of the field. So, the devil is very subtle. That word means that barely discernible, very clever, very sneaky, very hard to trace. And you see, if you've got promises on your life and you're sticking to those promises and you're going after those promises, and you are well, you're kind of going to gradually, as you move into those things or towards those things, you're going to become more of a concern for the enemy, for the devil, and he's going to know probably better than you do really what's in store for you or where you're heading. And so what he does is he starts to come against you. Well, he doesn't know you that well yet. He doesn't know you well enough to know exactly how to get you off course or whatever. He does sometimes get some obvious information that he just ambush you. And but a lot of the time, depending on how you're really gauging the situation, he has to become more subtle, but he can only become more subtle because he learns more about you. He is studying you, especially if you're someone who's really determined to go after the promises that God has for you. So you've got things that he's promised for you in terms of ministry and life and, family and all these different things, or things that you're waiting for that God, but you got to be sure that God's really told you these things. It's like, you got to know that you know that you know. But what he does is that at first he comes in a fairly obvious way because he's testing you out, he's trying things. Also, he has to make a risk because he might give away too much so like you might have a situation where you could, you're very vulnerable because you're very broken or something like that, and he decides to come in hard. And what that means is that you will get oppressive thoughts, starting to really feel like, I'm hopeless, what am I doing? There's no chance and I don't know how, this is never going to work and all that kind of stuff. But if he pushes too hard and you've got the discernment, you start going, wait a minute, this is slightly, this is a bit over the top. It's not very pleasant, but you're thinking it's gone a bit far now. And, you might start recognizing, he sees the emotional state I'm in, he's pressing it. It's like he presses in. It's like this hot breath almost down your neck kind of going, it's not going to work out. You're not going to make it. They're not going to do this. That's not going to happen. It's like that. And he'll learn from that as well. You might learn something, but he learns something. And then what happens is that he'll try different angles and different things. And, one of the things that he'll do is sometimes he can be quite invasive in your dreams. He'll try, it might just be like a lot of people get dreams, inappropriate dreams, because he wants to get you sort of tempted to do things you shouldn't do and that kind of thing. But then that becomes obvious to you. Think, wait a minute, those dreams are putting that in my mind. It must be from the devil. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's too obvious, and the thing is, it says resist the devil and he will flee from you. Well, when you're in that place where you're getting it and you're resisting, there's only so long he can stick around, because the more you resist, it's like the heat goes up and he can't stand it anymore or something like that. But then he might give you dreams where it's more subtle. It's more kind of like, this isn't going to work up, or they're going to let you down, or that's not going to happen or something. And you start, and it feels like you're almost getting information that could be true, and you go, oh, it makes you feel like that's what's, oh, like you're being told that this is not going to work out. But then you think, wait a minute, this is not how God gives you dreams. God doesn't give dreams that are kind of like a little bit like, nasty, or kind of like have that feeling like, he gives it in a way, even if it's bad news, he'll come in a way that's very much like, this isn't going to work out, I've got something better for you. Something clean cut like that. Not some kind of horrible, nasty feeling like it's all going to go wrong in this wrong way. And that's not how he would tell you. That's just not how God does it. That's not how he does it. God dreams have got, dreams that come from God have got God all over them. And the goodness of God is all over them. So even when it's bad, it's kind of good in a funny sort of way. So then you think, but then you've got to realise, well, I'm not psychic. So I'm not outside of God having dreams about something that's actually right. And then you realise, well, the last option is those dreams are coming from the devil, but they're more subtle than the last lot. They're not just like carnal temptations. They're things that might happen. They're more to do with situations and stuff. And then the thing that's, for example, I'm sure there's other things, but when it comes to real subtlety, all the time, they're if you get that one, they learn a bit more about you, and they're looking for something. They're kind of going. So it might be like, if we can push their buttons, if I can push your buttons, trigger you, so that you blow it. Because the only person that can, if you got promises of God, if you've been given promises from God, the only person that can blow it is you. That's it. Because let's face it, he obviously has everything else in hand, because he's told you, and you're the only person who can blow it. You're the only person who can blow it. So what you might want to try and do is try and push your buttons, try and trigger you. But even then, what he'll do is he'll use other people. He'll use unsaved people. Sometimes use saved people that are just not where they ought to be. And they just say things in conversation that seem perfectly natural, but it pushes the button, something you're bothered about, something you're concerned about, something you're hoping for, and it suddenly makes it seem like, oh no, makes you feel bad, and you think, well, that's like an independent kind of person, and it, but it's the enemy pushing your buttons again. It's going against the promises of God. It's like they're pushing the buttons. And if that doesn't work, then he tries to push your buttons in more and more credible ways, very subtle, like, just things that are so kind of like credible. They make sense. They don't just push your buttons, but they push your buttons because you know what it is that really bothers you and really worries you. And it's not just the circumstance not working out, it's the way it might not work out. It's what makes you think maybe lose your cool about it, because there's very credible ways that you worry about it. And they find those out. They find out, and maybe I'm not making myself clear. It's like it's not just that I might lose this opportunity or this thing. It's the way that I might lose it, and the way I could see it coming, the way that bothers me the most, and he figures it out. And he kind of like finds a way of, getting people to say things that infer that maybe it is like that. And what he wants you to do is to blow it. He wants you to maybe just throw it all, or really cross a line, or do something rash, just because he doesn't want you to have the promises, because they're a big threat to him. They're a big, big threat if you can go through with this. But as I say, you're the only person that can blow it, and you just got to resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Amen. Bless you.